What's really good, guys? It's your boy Hatter, FFL Commissioner, and we got one of my main mans in the building today, Mr. Pat in the building, man. Fantasy expert and currently working for Fantasy Pros and much other stuff too, man. He's all around, man. How you been?
Doing well, Hatter. How about you, man? Just trying to
Eh,
beat the heat here in Chicago.
Oh yeah, I know, man. It's about that time, September's almost kicking in, so hopefully that heat kind of goes away for say. But yeah, man, over here just relaxing, keeping updated on all these people, moving around in this extreme hard fantasy season, I would say.
Yeah, it is, man. And if you mention it, like there might be some people moving around. We got a couple hot potatoes at running back this
Oh
year with
man.
like Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs, who we thought should be maybe like slam dunk first round picks in fantasy drafts this
Exactly.
year, but maybe not so much.
Exactly. I mean, like you speak of Josh Jacobs. I mean, this guy took many guys to the chip last year and kind of like, you know, took all these teams to the playoffs and all that. And this year, he's coming up with all these things about the whole payment issue, which is completely fine. I understand his point. But when as far as comes to Josh Jacobs and people are trying, he's on the board and people don't know what to do with him. What do you advise some of these cats or these new cats coming in the fantasy drafts, man? What do you think you should go about with Josh Jacobs?
I would say insist on a discount, Hatter. Like make
Okay.
sure that you're not overpaying for him. And I think
Right.
like towards the end of the second round, maybe he might be
Yeah.
safe because
Right.
they're reporting that he's going to come back to the team before week one, but
Right.
he still isn't actually back with the team. So until it actually happens, I'm
Right.
still a little nervous. And plus,
Right.
um, this is a dude who had over 300 carries last year, big workload, and now he comes back
Extreme.
and hasn't had training camp, hasn't had that, getting used to getting hit again.
For
Um,
sure.
I just wonder how he's going to hold up after
Right.
taking that kind of punishment last year and then maybe not getting his body back to where it is if he had gone through training camp. So I'm a little
Right.
nervous.
Right. I mean, I'm nervous here too. Now, I'm also trying to think where his mind's at. Right. I mean, the guys are not paying him what he wants, and obviously, he was the only one doing the most work for the Raiders last year. Right. So I totally understand where he's coming from. Right now, I also understand that maybe he was trying to play that game where, okay, like I'll stay at home and let's see what you guys gonna be without me, because basically they're nothing without him. Obviously, D Adams there. I mean, I would, some people would say him by case, but I've noticed that the Raiders are more of a run heavy team as well, so they need Jacobs there, and obviously, I think he will be coming back. But do you think he's going to play to the ability where, like, you know what, like I'm playing to the max? Do you think so?
Oh man, I know. I hope so. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like he's playing for a team that after being a first round pick, the team had
Right.
a fifth year option and they didn't pick it
Right.
up on him.
Right.
So then like it was there. They had the right to put the franchise tag on him, but that
Right.
prevents Jacobs from getting the long term contract he deserves. It's just tough situation for these running backs, Hatter. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
the model is kind of to just use these guys in their first contract, work them
Right.
into the ground because it's like a shorter shelf life than a lot of the other positions, and
Right.
then don't pay them a big second contract. So like
Right.
these guys are out there, playing one of the toughest positions, one of the highest injury rates, getting used up early, and then the teams don't want to reward them long term. So I feel for these guys, man. But like at the same time, it's probably the smart way for NFL teams to operate.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the same. I mean, hopefully he does do what he did last year, and hopefully, Raiders, people in charge kind of come to their senses, man. Like, come on, sign the guy. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
if he, he's done the most for you guys the last 2 years, so why not? So, and then here comes another guy, okay, Mister Jonathan Taylor, right? Mister Big Boy, big name, right? Last year, I would say most of the drafts came, was the first person drafted, right? We all know that. Now, Obviously, first the Colts were saying, "Hey, we're not going to give this guy away. All trades for him are going to be declined." And now they finally, approved, and he's seeking for a trade. What are some of the best teams do you think he might go to, or what do you think the best teams are the best fit for him?
Yeah, and this is interesting. Like, I still think ultimately, I don't know, it's probably worse than 50-50 that he actually does get traded. Because I mean, the Ravens were going to let Lamar Jackson seek a trade, and
Right,
that didn't really go anywhere just because the Ravens also would have demanded a high price. And it sounds like the Colts are asking for a pretty high price for Taylor. They want like at
right,
least a first back. So,
right,
like, there are definitely some places that come to mind. I mean, I know they're talking up James Cook in Buffalo, but man, Jonathan Taylor in Buffalo would be pretty exciting. Miami, where they've got this committee with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Devon
right,
Achane. And man, I love Achane, the rookie, but obviously Jonathan Taylor could take that offense to the next level. Mix him in with
right,
Tua and Tyreek Hill and
right,
Jalen Waddle. That'd be pretty
right.
exciting. And
Exactly.
then maybe the other one that's kind of interesting, Hatter, would be the team that should have drafted him in the first place, the Kansas City Chiefs, who passed
Exactly.
him up. Yeah, they passed him up and they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I'm sure they're regretting that decision. Because can you
Definitely.
imagine
Definitely.
Patrick Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Kelsey, like what that offense could be? So there are a
Right.
lot of fun possibilities, but at the same time, man, like I wouldn't mind seeing him play with Anthony Richardson. And I know you're in the DC area, Hatter, so you probably
Oh yes, sir.
remember RG3's rookie year,
Oh
Robert
man,
Griffin III.
that'd
And
be
like,
the best year ever.
yeah, and
As a Commanders fan or Redskins fan, whatever you call it, that season with it. But yeah, keep going.
oh, I was just gonna say, man, like I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is gonna have that same sort of impact, but when you've got a
Right.
quarterback who is that dangerous a runner and you're doing that RPO stuff where like the quarterback is putting the ball in the running back's breadbasket
Right.
and the defense doesn't know whether the quarterback's actually gonna hand off or keep it and run himself. Like with
Right.
Richardson, who's like 244 and 4.4 speed, just an absolute freak, and Taylor, who's a big dude and has 4.4 speed and is an absolute freak. Like that would be so hard because I mean, you know how good Alfred Morris was that year and what
Right.
kind of numbers he put up in RG3's rookie year. And I just, I always thought Alfred Morris was just kind of a guy. Like Taylor
Exactly.
is actually really good, man. So I'd love to see what that would look like. But then again, some of these trade possibilities are kind of fun to think about too.
Exactly. I mean, it kind of comes back to, how Jonathan Taylor feels and where he would want to go. I feel like wherever he goes is still that, that thing that we kind of was shocked by last year was him getting hurt and kind of lingering throughout the whole season, right? So that's now in play and it's just kind of confusing. Like, okay, will this guy stay healthy, right? Well, I mean, let's pray he does. And wherever he goes, let's hope for the best as far as comes to fantasy. But like you were saying, some of these guys that if he goes to, let's say, to the Dolphins and to the Kansas City Chiefs, now that would be a big big upgrade. But now Pacheco and all these other guys are saying Mostert and all that. Then it comes back to that confusing thing about these whole running back situation. Which running back to pick, right? First it was Z going like first we think, yo man, Stevens, Stevens is gonna get the major, carries at the Pats. Like, wow, this is a guy we gotta draft him. And then also with Brees Hall, we gotta get this guy Brees Hall, man. Like, ain't nobody over there, right? But
Yes.
now Dalvin being at with the Jets, and then you got Zeke going to the Patriots, and even if JT goes to one of these teams where those current running backs will get 200 carries this year. It's another see, like it comes back to that very hard season with the running back situation, man. And as far as it comes to that, what running backs do you think should be that hero running back for you if you want to go that route drafting?
Yeah, man. I mean, my favorite one right now is Bijan Robinson, the rookie.
Hmm,
And
okay.
like people are always a little I mean, he is going typically in the first round of drafts, but like he's
Right.
going a little later in the first round. But people haven't seen it yet at the NFL level. But
Right.
I don't know. I'm pretty confident in this guy Hatter. Like after watching him play at Texas, like I just think this dude has the total package, like speed, power, vision, footwork, patience to follow his
Mhm.
blockers, set up his blocks, and really good pass catching too, man.
Right.
Like he can high point the ball like a wide receiver. If he's like runs smooth routes, knows how to find open space, just kind of everything. And
Right.
I almost think he's going at a discount, like a guy who's probably going to be a top 3 pick in next year's fantasy drafts, but you're getting him a little cheaper because no one's seen it yet at the NFL level. But
Exactly.
plus he's going to this team, the Falcons, that love to run the ball. Ran it a ton last year, even though they were doing it with guys, Tyler Algier, who we hadn't heard of
Right.
a couple years ago, and
Right.
Cordero Patterson, who was a former
Right.
wide receiver, um, and
Exactly.
and a really good offensive line. So, man, I'm excited to see what that looks like with Bijan. You know,
Definitely, I'm excited to see him. And then when it comes to Bijan, I mean, do you think like Patterson, like who really carried many fantasy teams the last couple of years, and Algier, who kind of stepped up the last, the end of the season last year, do you think they're going to impact his, his production? Because those two guys are no jokes. Those are dogs right there. So
yeah,
how do you feel about that? I mean, to me, I would say you know, Bijan will definitely be good, but it's at the same time, it's like it's kind of risky for me because it's like there's two dogs behind him. I would understand if there's some scrubs, right? Then it's okay. But there's like these two guys behind him that are like big time players, and who produced and did so the last couple of years. So what do you think about that?
yeah, that's a good point. And Patterson is just like, crazy. This just an athletic marvel, man. But it's like he's the man without a position. He didn't really fit at wide receiver.
Right.
He's had some interesting moments as a running back, although
Right.
like I don't think that's like his best natural position either. Supposedly the Falcons are trying to move him sort of back more to the wide receiver position, but I just think he's going to be this guy like you've got special plays in your playbook for Cordero Patterson, and they're probably going to work really well because the dude's dynamite with the ball in his hands. But like I don't think they're going to give him a lot of carries. I just think it's
Right.
going to be really specific, like trick plays, gadget plays, that kind of thing. Algiers the interesting one, man, because you talked about it. The guy's a dog. Like he carried that running game late last year, and he carried a lot of fantasy teams too. Um, with what he did, they're definitely going to reduce his load. It's going to be primarily Bijan. Bijan's going to be the guy. Like anytime it's third down and long, Bijan's going to be the passing down guy. But with Algier, like you said it, man, the guy was a dog down the stretch last year. Really carried the Falcons' running game. Got a lot of
Right.
carries. Carried fantasy teams. Like he was really
Exactly.
valuable down the stretch. And I guess they're still going to use him a lot, but like they're not going to use him on passing downs. That's going to be Bijan. They're going to use him a little bit on early downs to take some of the load off Bijan, but that's going to be an offense that's going to run the ball a lot. Arthur
Right.
Smith, their head coach and play caller, loves to run the ball. So he needs two guys. And I
Right.
think, Algiers not going to get 20 carry games as long as Bijan is healthy, but he still might get a lot of 10 and 12 carry games.
Right. And do you think Algier and Cordell might take like goal line carry, like goal line touchdowns from Bijan plate? That's the thing. You see, got you thinking, Pat, didn't I?
Yeah, it's a
Wait, hey, look,
possibility.
Pat, you've been in the game for so long, and you've seen many of those, right? Your guy is not on the line when it scores a touchdown, and look, it makes us go crazy, right? And that's a big possibility. I mean, Algier, a big dude, right? Which they kind of use him on the goal line. And Patterson, they always have something, under their sleeves, some plays for him. So that's a big possibility from what I think.
Yeah, man. That's a good question. I want to see what that looks like and whether like I feel like Bijan is so good they have to keep him in there, but like there's no guarantee. There's no guarantees the
Exactly.
goal line back. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to the quarterback situation, you know, my guy Taylor Henneke, right? He's over there, and he's been doing it for the last preseason games. His numbers on top. What do you think they should do with their whole quarterback situation over there?
It's funny, man, because you like Taylor Heineke floated the fantasy value of Terry McLaurin last year. And
Are you sure?
yeah, Jahan Dotson. I mean, he only played 12 games, but had 7 touchdowns in those 12 games. Yeah, Heineke can play. And so I think Desmond Ritter is going to be on a pretty short leash. Like Desmond Ritter has that running capability. I think they like that. But,
Right.
Heineke is probably the better and definitely the more experienced passer. So if Ritter falls on his face, they can move forward with Heineke. And like I think that play action passing game with the running threat they have with Bijan and that great run blocking offensive line, that's going to make the play action work. And that would make Heineke's job easier or Desmond Ritter's job easier. But Ritter's got to do it, man. He's got to prove it because like the Falcons, I think they have designs on the NFC South title. Like they want to
Right.
win that division, man. So like if Ritter's not getting it done early, I could see them pulling the plug really fast.
No, I definitely agree with that as well. I mean, hopefully, what I would say is that Heineke can come in and do those dump offs and all that, do the play action. It will be good for the team, I would say, because look, if Ritter's in there, he's going to eat from Bijan's plate now. I'm sure if Ritter's in there, he wants to score those rushing touchdowns. He wants to make a name for himself, right? So, for a fantasy perspective, I would think Taylor being there would be a better thing for Bijan. You know,
That
that's
might
what I
be
would
that.
say.
That's a good point. A lot of those mobile quarterbacks like calling their own number inside the 5 or 10 yard line.
Definitely, definitely. And let me talk about something that's very close to your heart, Pat.
Sure.
Is the Green Bay Packers? All right. Now, what do you think your boys are going to do this year, man?
Oh, Hatter. That's tough, man. Like I'm not sure what to make of Jordan Love. Like, are you a Jordan Love
Oh man.
believer?
Oh no, I'm not, Pat. I'm sorry, man. I know you didn't want to hear that, through the computer, man. But no, man. I think Jordan Love is not the answer, bro. I just don't think he's an answer. I definitely think Watson and my boy Romeo Dobbs are the dudes. They're straight. They're totally fine. I think AJ Dillon and I think the Jones punch, 1-2 punch is great. But man, that quarterback situations uh, needs to be talked about.
Yeah, and that's it, man. I mean, he drafted in 2020. He sat and waited for 3 years to get his chance, and like we still don't know if he's any good. Like,
Right,
yeah, he looked good coming in late when the Eagles were destroying the Packers last year, and he was just kind of playing mop up against like soft coverage.
right,
Then, like a couple of years ago, Rodgers had COVID. Jordan Love had to make a start in Kansas City. Didn't do well at all, man. Packers
right.
defense played that great that day. If Love had just had an okay game, they would have won. So,
Exactly.
yeah, we don't know what we're gonna see, and like my easy answer, Hatter, is like within a game of 500. I think they're going to be 8-9, 9-8,
Right.
probably 8-9. Like that's my best guess, but hopefully a little better than that. The defense could be pretty good. You mentioned all those pass catchers. Watch out for Luke Musgrave too, the rookie tight end.
Luke Musgrave. There we
He's
go.
been
Yeah,
he's been
because obviously Tanyan was kind of. I'm sure you were getting
yes.
mad about Tanyan last year, man. Like people headbutting their heads on the wall for him, man. I'm telling you. So hopefully, man, that the rookie shows up, man.
Yeah, but he's been having a great camp. They're even doing like jet sweeps with him. Really
Right.
interesting, really athletic dude. So
Well,
he's one to
hopefully the
keep an eye
ball
on.
goes to him.
Yes.
Cough, cough, Jordan Love. So that's the question, right, Pat? I mean, let's pray.
Exact
I mean, look, I've been in your position, Pat. You see this helmet right here.
quarterback
I've been
issues, man.
quarterback issues, right? And listen. I mean, I feel like, oh, here I go. I'm about to rant about the Commanders. it's like every year, before the season starts, finally now it's kind of settled down, kind of, because Howell's a guy right now, and he's named our starting quarterback. But the last 10 years, man, could you name how many quarterback changes that we had? Like
Oh,
it's like some of them were just comical. I mean, like waking up and seeing a post at 2 a.m. that we signed Fitzpatrick and all these guys. I'm like, dude, come on, man. But I mean, hopefully, Jordan Love comes in and does what he's supposed to do and can make the Packers somewhat a good team. But as far as a fantasy, perspective, who do you think is going to show the most from your team, the Packers?
yeah, man. I'm hoping it's Christian Watson. And
Okay,
like he obviously needs Jordan Love to work for him
right,
to make that happen. And by the way,
right,
Hatter, like I know quarterback uncertainty is a way of life for most NFL fans. I'm so spoiled, man. We've had two quarterbacks going back to the early 90s.
right.
It's like
Exactly,
the, la-
exactly.
the last time we had someone other than went into a season like with anyone other than Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre as our quarterback, that was like
Right,
going back to like the Nirvana days, like the grunge
exactly,
era. Yeah. So
exactly.
but yeah, I like Watson a lot. I mean, he
Right,
he kind of showed out. That dude scored 8 touchdowns over a 4 game stretch last year. And I feel like you don't do that unless you're a pretty good player.
I
Like
agree. I
that's
agree.
like you can have fluky touchdown seasons. Jarek McKinnon, like 10 touchdowns last year. I don't think that's happening
Man, Jared
again, but
McKinnon won some
he
Super
did.
Bowl last
He
year,
did.
man.
That dude just kept getting into the end zone. But
I'm
like
telling
that
you.
he got his 10 in 17 games, and Watson got his 8 in 4 games, which is just
Right,
crazy. 6'4", sub 4.4 speed. Um, just this dude runs like a gazelle when you watch him, man. Like he's
right.
just
I
got
mean,
that.
And I
Go
was
ahead.
s- and I was speaking talking about the Gazelle. I mean, we were watching obviously I was keeping tabs on your boys, and beginning of the season, man, he was making those drops. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna be a bust. I remember I remember you saw those games now, but then he came up and like you were saying, man, he kind of that with a big subframe and going back to what we thought he was going to be towards the end of the season. I think he will have another good year this year, man.
I hope so. And that's it. Like small school guy, but man, the physical traits. And yeah, I remember that play, the very first target he ever had in the NFL. Rodgers hits
Right,
him right in the midst with what should have been a
right.
75-yard touchdown, and he drops
Right,
it. I'm
right,
like, oh man, is this kid going to be terrible? But no, then he got me excited pretty much with everything he did the rest of the way.
right. And Pat, man, sometimes you say, you put some alcohol in the wound and it stings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'm not gonna
Oh,
say
not at
that.
all.
I know you miss Aaron Rodgers now. I know you do. I ain't trying to hurt your feelings, but I mean, I pray Jordan Love is throwing those darts like Aaron did and get that ball to the receivers and to that rookie tight end, like you were saying.
Yeah. On the
So
bright side, Hatter, if it doesn't work out with Love, that means they're probably going to be bad. They're going to have a bad record. They're going to pick high in next year's draft, and we're going to have the Jets' first round pick next year. And it's going to be a good year for quarterbacks. So, if
definitely,
Love doesn't plan out, they'll definitely be drafting a quarterback in the first round next year.
definitely, and on the bright side, Pat. I mean, if the Packers don't do well this year, that means more time for you. Put your mind into the fantasy. What we're both good at.
That's
We're
right.
both cutting the same cloth, man. It's an advantage for you to win more chips this year in the fantasy. Forget about because that's what I have been doing the last 2 years as a Commanders fan, right? And I've won a couple of chips back to back because of that. So hey, it's a win-win situation, right? Win-win
That
situation.
that's right, man. Divorce myself from the fan mindset and focus all on fantasy.
Right, exactly. Hey, Pat, I really appreciate you coming up on the FFL podcast and sharing your thoughts and everything with the whole situation with the running backs and speaking more about the Packers, man. And I wish you good luck in your fantasy leagues this year, and also writing those articles for Fantasy Pros and much more.
Hatter, thank you so much for having me on, sir. Really appreciate it. Great to talk to you, buddy. Good luck this
Any
season.
For sure. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll definitely bring you back later on the season and chop it back up and see how
Let's
everything is
do it.
going. For sure.
Let's
And
do
all
it.
right, guys, I made a Discord channel. Link will be in the description. And subscribe to my YouTube channel at the FFL. More podcasts to come with NFL players and coaches. Take care, guys.